What is death at the Catholic level? Why I'm asking this question? Because in fact the word death has found a lot of meaning throughout history, but death is part of something important. It introduces us into the second stage of life, the next world, another step of the ladder that leads to the beatific vision. So in the old days, we defined death assome who had stopped breathing. We put a small mirror or glass under the nose, and if ever there was no condensation, we then estimated that the person had died. Having made progress, we learned to define death also by heart failure, and that obviously avoided spontaneous awakenings in coffins. Going even further, in the 20th century, we realized that when the heart was stopped, doctors could still resuscitate the person, and so we had to redefine death as long-term heart failure and the stopping of all brain activity. It was estimated that after a certain time the damage would have been irreversible in the brain, and indeed resuscitation would only be a vegetable existence without conscience. Well, all these meanings are not of the theological meaning. That means as given by faith, the Bible of death. For the Bible, death is the passage between this world and the next, and this is a passage which can last for quite some time. However, be careful, not all theologians have stated this. St. Thomas Aquinas, for example, in his scholasticism, had been founded upon St. Augustine. These great doctors of the Church, for their part, took almost the medical, or rather the philosophical definition of death by saying it is the moment of separation of soul from the body, so it's instantaneous. Nothing happens. Therefore, the consequence is that by interpreting such a dogma which says that immediately after death, every individual who does not have the grace of God, a heart-to-heart friendship with God, is immediately taken to hell. According to this dogma, God would have them led or put a lot of people into hell. This is absolutely absurd. Children who may have died without baptism are put into hell without suffering, fortunately, but so are also ignorant pagans, because being in the ignorance of God, they were unable to love Him. Poor sinners who did not have the opportunity to confess their sins because they had died suddenly. In reality, in the gospel texts, only the sin against the Holy Spirit, therefore the sin of the free will, controlled, perfectly lucid to reject God, known as God perfectly, leads that soul into hell. So there was a problem, and that is why we are now taking up the theological definition of death. It is the passage between this world and the next, and it can last a while. It is comparable in a metaphorical way to the desert between Egypt and the promised land, in which the Hebrew people passed in order to flee with Moses this land of slavery, symbolizing earthly life, and arrived in the other world. We can see in this desert there are events that have occurred, so this is a passage where things occur.